Have you ever bought something and it just breaks a week later? Or maybe you've had that feeling, that little nagging suspicion that you were overcharged? Yeah, we have all been there. Every single day, we're all consumers. So today, let's unpack what that really means for us, for our satisfaction, and, most importantly, for our protection.
I mean, think about it. Whether you're grabbing some vegetables for dinner, getting a checkup at the doctor, or even just hopping on a train to get to work, you're a consumer. It is a fundamental part of our lives, right? It connects all of us through this constant exchange of goods and services.
But that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We trade our hard-earned money for a promise of quality, of value. But let's be honest, how often does that promise get broken?
All right, so first things first, let's talk about how it's supposed to work. What does that ideal relationship between a buyer and a seller actually look like? What's the standard we should all be expecting?
So let's get on the same page with a basic definition. A consumer is, simply put, anyone who buys something to satisfy a need or want. It seems pretty straightforward, right? But the ideal goes so much deeper than just that simple transaction.
Now this idea from Gandhiji completely flips the script. He's saying the consumer isn't an interruption to the business. No, the consumer is the entire reason the business exists in the first place. I mean, just think about that for a second. The business depends on us, not the other way around. Now that is the gold standard, the kind of relationship that's built on real respect.
But of course, we don't always live in that perfect world. And when that respect is gone, the whole relationship breaks down, and that exposes us, the consumers, to some very real risks.
So what do you do when the product fails you? When the service is just plain bad? Or you feel like you've been cheated? This is where that gap between what you expected and what you got becomes a really serious problem. Let me tell you a quick story that perfectly illustrates this. We've got two students, Anu and Vinu. The school year starts in June, and they both go out and buy brand new umbrellas.
And here's what happened. Anu's umbrella was so poorly made that it was totally useless in just 2 weeks. Vinu, on the other hand, got a full year's use out of his. They both had the same need, they probably paid a similar price, but there was a huge difference in quality and, of course, satisfaction.
Now, Anu's faulty umbrella is a classic case of a low-quality product. But exploitation can take so many different forms. There's adulteration, like finding tiny stones mixed in with your rice, or being charged more than the actual price, being tricked by weights and measures, or falling for those misleading ads that promise the world but deliver nothing. All of these are ways that fundamental trust in the marketplace just gets shattered.
So, when you find yourself in a situation just like Anu's, what can you actually do about it? Well, the good news is you're not alone. There's a whole system designed to be your shield.
And this right here is the absolute game changer, the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. This was landmark legislation, created for one reason and one reason only, to define and defend your rights in the marketplace. It's the legal backbone of consumer power in India. And it's even been updated most recently in 2019 to keep up with modern problems, like e-commerce.
This act gives you 6 fundamental rights. You have the right to safety, which means that new gadget you bought shouldn't be a fire hazard. You have the right to be informed. You deserve to know exactly what's in the product you're buying. You have the right to choose, so no one can force you to buy something you don't want. The right to be heard, your complaints have to be taken seriously. The right to seek redressal, and this is a big one. It means you can get compensation when you've been wronged. And finally, the right to consumer education, so you know all of this stuff in the first place.
Okay, so what do you do with all these rights? Well, if you feel they've been violated, you don't have to get tangled up in the regular court system. The Act created a special, dedicated judicial system just for these kinds of problems, the consumer courts.
And the whole system is designed to be really accessible. It's a 3-tiered structure, and it's based on how much your claim is worth. So for most of our everyday issues, with claims up to 20 lakh rupees, you start at the district level. For bigger claims, you can go to the state or even the national commissions. The whole point is to give everyone a clear, straightforward path to justice.
Look, having rights and having courts is fantastic, but the best case scenario is to avoid the problem entirely, right? So this last part is all about being a proactive, smart consumer. It's about your personal toolkit.
Knowledge is absolutely your best defense. Before you even spend a single rupee, there are specific signs of quality you can look for. Little logos that tell you a product has been certified and meets a certain standard.
For instance, if you're buying an electrical appliance or even something like cement, look for this, the ISI mark. It's a stamp of product quality. And for agricultural goods like your spices or grains, this Agmark symbol is your assurance that they meet a certain standard.
And here are 2 more you should definitely know. When you're buying gold jewelry, the BIS hallmark is your guarantee of purity. And if you're grabbing something like jam or juice, the FPO mark is what certifies the quality and safety of that product. Think of these logos as your shortcut to quality.
So it all comes down to building a few smart habits. First, always get a bill. That's your non-negotiable proof of purchase. Second, watch the scales, make sure you're actually getting the amount you paid for. Third, it takes 2 seconds. Glance at the expiry date on packaged stuff. Fourth, look for those quality marks we just talked about. And finally, just take a minute to understand how to actually use the product correctly. These small steps are your best defense against big headaches later.
So there you have it. We've seen the ideal, the pitfalls, and the powerful shield you have as a consumer. The knowledge is yours now. The tools are available. The only real question left is, are you ready to use them? Next time you go to buy something, what's the one thing you're going to do differently?